young age, even in some of very small villages in India, still today, women are made to sleep in a separate shelter out of the house. They're made to sleep in the cold in a separate hut that they make. Unhygienic living condition. They're told to pee there, sleep there, everything. Because they're considered impure. They're not allowed to enter temples because you're impure again.
Hey, welcome to Cancast Show. Today we did a great conversation with Ritika Saraswat, who is a sole founder of Redefined NGO. She had helped more than 3,000 people in 3 different countries. And हमने आज बात की that how she is empowering women and कैसे उनकी organization education provide कर रही है different areas में where it is literally needed. Subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram page for the latest update. Watch full video. This is Cancast by Sohang Rajput. Welcome to Cancast Show.
Thank you so much. I am very good. Thank you so much for having me.
टोरंटो आके कैसा लग रहा है वैंकूवर से?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. But to be very honest,
सच्चाई नहीं है.
But to be very honest, like Vancouver is my favorite city. So.
तो यहाँ पे किस पर्पस के लिए आए थे?
नहीं तो I'd come for a few events. We had like Redefined का हमारा खुद का event था, like networking event for international students.
पहले बता दो कि आप करते क्या हो basically.
No, that's a good point to start with. So like my name is Ritika. I came to Canada about 5.5 to 6 years ago. I came initially as a typical South Asian kid to study kinesiology at UBC. And I kept my, open mind. One thing led to another. I started doing more competitions, won a few of them as well. Then started working as a freelance consultant for a lot of startups and nonprofits in Canada and the US. I realized how students are constantly told, hey, if you study science, you need to become a doctor. Or if you study engineering, you need to become an engineer. But I didn't do that for myself, right? I went from kinesiology to consulting. And people found that as a shock always. Ki, oh my God, how? And I was like, why do you have to say the how? I can do anything I want. And I think that's when I started Redefined. To really fill that gap, being an international student, being a person of color, a woman of color specifically, and being someone from a non-traditional background, going into like more of the business space, I felt the need to kind of redefine myself. And I felt like a lot of people need to do the same because we have constant people putting judgments and stereotypes on us on who we are, what are we capable of. But it's, we are the writers of our own story. So I think I decided to create this organization to help students or more so people in general do that. And, we started in a small city in Vancouver. Vancouver is a city. We started in a small city in Canada called Vancouver. Now we're across 3 cities within Canada, Vancouver, Halifax, and Toronto. And then we're also based in 4 other countries where we're doing a lot more work towards really empowering students from underprivileged and underserved communities by providing them with access to educational workshops, products like menstrual pads, etc. And at the same time, just giving them mentors, whether it be from Canada or anyone else who look like them, who speak the same language as them, but are achieving great things in the life, which maybe those kids don't imagine for themselves.
Right.
So yeah, we have been able to impact 20,000 people until now.
तो यहाँ पे जब लोग मोस्टली जब आते हैं स्टडी के साथ साथ वो बस उनका ये एम होता है कि हमने पीआर लेनी है. हाँ. आपने इतना कुछ कैसे शुरू करा?
I think ये मेरी सबसे बड़ी conversation होती है इतने बच्चों के साथ. I think in the last 1 year, I would have spoken to at least 600 students. And I think one common theme I see is PR among all international students. हर international student. और इससे क्या होता है वो उसके चक्कर में they will hire a few people in India जो उनको ऐसी colleges में admission देते हैं which are not as recognized. Because what happens is not to say that graduating from a recognized or a reputable organization influences your future or determines success, but it does influence it in some way. Because when you graduate from a particular university, like when I was graduating from UBC, let's say even if I didn't have a job at Deloitte, which I did have, but even if I didn't graduate with that job, just people knowing that I graduated from UBC makes them more likely to hire me than someone else, let's say, who graduated from another university. Like, let's say, I don't know, Humber College or like Lambton or any other kind of college. Not to say that they're bad or anything, but saying that that reputation of the university adds to the reputation of the student. Unless you build your own personal brand and reputation, that's separate. But if you rely just on that, it does play a role. $120,000 or more for a 4-year degree is not a small deal. Right. And I know so many students don't get it. So when I realized that in my first year, it just hit me and I just sat down on a chair and I was like, oh my God, my parents are investing so much in me. I'm not here just to fool around, you know. I want to make the best of those 4 years that my parents feel so incredibly like grateful, you know, and feel like, you know, ye paisa sahi invest hua hai, kind of a thing, you know, that satisfaction should come. So for me, that day I decided, you know, I just have to build a name for myself.
वो डे क्यों है?
जब मैं पहले like I think again first year of university I was like a kid, so I was a bit immature, spent a lot of money because you know like conversion भी ध्यान में नहीं आता initially. You don't realize. I was like $5 so cheap. I went to a place, I bought clothes $300. I was like 300 रुपए. I was like so cheap.
Right.
And like, you know, like it's like I didn't realize, and my parents never corrected me. Like, you know, parents are always like that. They're like, जो भी चाहिए करो. And then that end of the year, I was like, my God, I checked the bill. I was like, oh my God, how much money have I spent? And I think
ये मैंने रुपये में spend कर दिया लगता है.
वही तो. And तब से मैंने I just switched 360 degrees, like as a person overall. I matured, like I think in a day after realizing that, because I was like, you know, none of this anymore. You know, I think that's why I became so focused on just doing so much work also. I knew this is a part of the process. I think I was telling you before also, it's a stepping stone. Or, you know, it's a part of only the first, maybe 1/4 part of the journey. You know, you haven't even started there. So I knew that's never the end goal. My end goals have always been very high. So I knew that's not the end goal at all. So when I started in it, I just started with the idea, okay, I'm satisfying financial, because obviously that was priority. You know, you cannot pursue your passion if you don't have even money in your jib to pay for your food or anything.
Right.
So that is your priority, and I agree. You know, every life stage you'll have different priorities. So prioritize that. I prioritize that, took care of it. I was like, okay, now I have some more time left in a day. I won't go to events. I won't go to parties with my friends. I will sacrifice some social time. It's fine. You know, I sometimes I even sacrifice gym, to be honest, which means a lot to me. You know, I was like, it's fine. This is the priority in the moment, because I think time is of a sense. You know, time passes by. It's more valuable than money. You know, that's why I was being so specific about time today also. So I feel like I just made sure to prioritize that. You know, so I knew I got the money, but I was like, what I need is experience. No one's going to give me a job just like that, right? Or even if I want to start a business, I need to know how other people run the business. So I think that's when I initially started reaching out to non-profits and startups. I told them that, hey, I see your social media page. I see this is missing. I think this is something I can add to your page. I'm a new person trying this. I don't have much experience. I'll do it for free for you. But can you give me a month to do so? And if I don't bring you results, I can leave. But if I bring you results, I want to be paid. Again, it's those terminologies they play around with. As soon as you say consulting, people just like, wow. But if you say marketing manager, people look down. Right. But it's you're doing the same kind of work, just in a different space with a different focus, you know? So that is also something I don't think people realize, which I realized early on, is never look at a job by its title. Break it down according to its skills, you know? Okay, it's a marketing analyst job. What skills does it need? Problem solving, communication, creativity, critical thinking. Well, you're getting that even working in another place, doing a job completely different, because you have those skill sets, right? Technicality can be built anytime. Upskilling can be done anytime. What is difficult to develop is like those soft skills, right? And if you have developed those, nothing can stop you else. So, you know, I think it was just a change in perspective also. Yeah.
As a woman, did your parents supported you?
Yes, yeah. I think
हमारे इंडियन कल्चर में क्योंकि इंडियन कल्चर में होता है कि find a stable job and live your life like that.
I think इंडियन में वो भी नहीं होता find a stable job. इंडिया में होता है if you're a woman, well, you're fit for the house, you know, let the man earn. हाँ, अभी तो बहुत change हो रहा है. But I feel like there are still, because we work in a lot of those underserved communities, we still see those ideas existing, which is so shocking to me even today. There are so many regions where child marriage still exists. We're trying to educate people still about that. Imagine 21st century. Right. It annoys me so much that it still exists. And you know, like, अभी भी होता है इंडिया में बहुत जगह. Rajasthan, for example, even in Bangalore or Karnataka, where we're hoping to do a lot of work, but it's tricky again, because, you know, the local people, everyone's involved in these things, in those smaller villages. I'm not talking about cities. Right. This is in the villages which are far off, cut off from the real world, if I were to say. They're living in their own centuries with their own patriarchal norms and everything, you know. Patriarchy, I mean, still exists today as well. Right. But I think it's more extreme there. So I think वो तो सारा it exists today, yes. But I think that's why again I say, like, I feel like I'm very privileged, because my parents, I think, I could have never imagined for better parents in the world. I think they are my source of energy. I think I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't, like, a lot of people tell me, Ritika, why are you so bubbly sometimes, you know? I think it's because them. You know, they are that source for me. And I think they have always been like that. They never, my relatives, I remember the day I was born, my grandfather told my dad, sad. Like, you know how people celebrate when a kid is born? My grandfather came to my dad, he's like, no worries, next time, you know.
Why?
Because there was no son that was born. It was a daughter that was born. So he was like, you know, कोई नहीं होता, next time लड़का घर हो जाएगा, ये पूजा कराओ, ये कराओ, वो होगा, लड़का हो जाएगा. And my dad, you know, he told me now, he's like, when he is young, he always wanted daughters. His only criteria was सुंदर बच्चा होना चाहिए. And he was like, तुम दोनों हो मेरे. And like, I think and that meant a lot to me, because at that time when people had that thinking, my dad was complete opposite. You know, like even with my mom, the way he has treated her, I think that's why, like, my how do I say, even for other men and how they treat women, my ideals are very high because of what I've seen my dad do. Like, you know, keeping her as the queen and everything, you know, like
लड़का चाहिए रितिका उसको?
नहीं, but I mean to say in that way, like, or I was just telling you before this also, is like people used to call me the ladka of the family. But मेरे पापा को उससे problem थी. लड़का of the family क्यों? She is the ladki of the family, right? Why cannot a girl do the things? Because why ladka of the family? I was like, from a young age, I was very strong. I was into gymming as opposed to my other cousins, for example. अगर कुछ हिलाना होता तो घर पे मम्मा मेरे को बोलती थी हिलाने, क्योंकि I don't know why, like I think I have pretty good dholas. So I think मम्मा मेरे को बोलती थी हिलाने. फिर जैसे, you know how you usually tell, बंदों को ही बोलते हैं जाओ ये ले आ वो ले आ, वो मैं काम करता था घर में हमेशा. तो and I was very involved in business with my dad. Like from a very young age, I used to do accounting with him. I used to sit down, decide business decisions. So I think maybe that's why I also have an inclination towards business and entrepreneurship, you know, even though I don't have a degree in it, but I think I have a strong inclination because of that, maybe. So I think my papa taught me he like, even my mom is like the biggest source of inspiration in my life. And she always told me, Ritika, you're going to find a lot of people who, because you're a woman, are going to raise a lot of like fingers at you. But you know, you want to make sure no matter what anyone says, you should be proud of the fact that you're a woman, because she's like, I think that's the greatest asset you have. And it's true. You know, women are incredible. Not to say that men are not, but I think like it's about realizing that everyone can do everything, you know. And I think that's why वो redefined का भी part है. That's why the term redefined. Because I think a lot of us, based on our gender, race, educational background, economic status, are defined to be certain people, are defined to be, have certain capabilities. Like कोई बच्चा जिसने education नहीं किया, बेटा तू capable ही नहीं है. कोई बच्चा who is born to, let's say, at a very low socioeconomic status, you can never be successful. You know, people say that. I don't know if you watched the movie Gully Boy.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, in that his dad, you see how just because he's like his son comes from a low socioeconomic status, he limits his dreams. He's like, how the hell can you imagine to be there, you know, when you're here?
Now
well, people start from there, you know, no one starts from here and goes up. Well, like, some people do, but everyone who is successful at some point of life has started at a low. The only difference is the low is different for different people, you know. Some are privileged enough to start at a bit of a high versus others. But at the end of the day, everyone makes the journey to the top. And that top is what they define for themselves. I think that's where the issue happens. We define that top for others also. That is where that definition parts come. That part comes in. That's why I say redefine yourself. You know, let go of all these things that society tells you, but dictate, write your own story. You know, decide what success looks like for you.
But people think like women can't be independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think like that.
Especially in India, they still think that. You know, like,
in India.
Yeah. Just when I came to Canada, and Papa within the next year or so, my sister was like, even I want to go. So she in fact came to Canada for her 10th grade. Like a lot earlier than most people usually come, you know, because she was like, yeah. And my parents were like, yes, for sure, you know, grow, live your life, go for it. And then I remember a lot of people were like, Arey, so much money you're spending on your daughters. You could have just saved this for their marriage.
Right.
And oh my God, the way I was getting angry. But my dad, you know, he never even entertained these people, because he's like, don't spend your time convincing someone else or proving to someone else why you deserve to be where you are. You know, just like my parents always told me one thing, just keep working. Like, just keep working, you know. फल की चिंता छोड़ दो ऊपर बाबा जी पे.
पर मोस्टली लड़कियां प्रूव भी करती हैं ना उनको. हाँ. वो एक्सेप्ट कर लेती हैं उस चीज को कि हाँ हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, हम एक स्टेबल जॉब ढूंढते हैं. हाँ. या हम वो भी नहीं ढूंढते, हम नॉर्मलाइज जॉब करते हैं और अपनी लाइफ जीते हैं उसी तरीके. आप डिफरेंट हो जैसे, पर हर कोई ऐसा नहीं होता, राइट?
नहीं होता है, मैं आपको खुद ही बोल रही हूँ. आई वॉज लकी बिकॉज माई पेरेंट्स टोल्ड मी दैट डोंट लिसन टू अदर्स. बट इफ आई थिंक इफ आई डिडंट हैव द सेम पेरेंट्स, आई probably would also think of my capabilities being limited. You know, I meet a lot of my cousins जिनके माँ बाप are not, like, I don't want to say anything about them, but like, you know, like, they are not maybe as encouraging of their daughters, and I see that change in mindset. You know, when you talk to them, their focus won't be much on, I want to grow, I want to, you know, I want to become someone.
Right.
The focus is more on, I want to support, you know, the person who I will enter a relationship with, or, you know, I want to become a good wife. You know, like, even the parents, I've seen some of them investing a lot in their daughter from a beauty aspect. Oh my God, this is like incredibly annoying. Like one of my friends who is actually like from Pakistan, who was at UBC, you know, that means like these are rich, educated people, you know. But she told me when she went back home, when it comes to talks of marriage, usually you notice this. When it comes to a guy, people will then talk about business, kitna kamate ho ye. When it comes to a girl, people usually don't ask that. What people are usually looking at, how beautiful is she slim and trim, is she this, is she that, how well educated she is. That people want somehow, even though their main purpose is to keep her at home. You know, they still want someone who's educated, just because it's a point of shaan hai, like reputation aati hai usse, you know. Like, and I think that's very ironic to me, is because, you know, like, we look at those things, like, you know, we don't realize ki, okay, from our small gestures, we're indirectly hinting to women that, hey, this is what you're limited to. A lot of people are educating girls in India. But what happens is, agar you have to prioritize between your son and daughter, if you ask someone who's from a low socioeconomic background, they'll be more likely to fund their son's education than a daughter's. Small things like that, small things like a dad usually sitting down to discuss business with his son versus his daughter, again sends forth the idea that, oh, I'm not capable of discussing business, I'm more capable of being in the kitchen with mama. Or, you know, maybe I should look into playing with dolls and Barbies. That was not me again. When I was being brought up, I played with trucks, I played with cars instead of Barbies.
But I think like only women can change this thinking.
I think it goes both ways. I agree, women also are part of it. Because आजकल क्या हो जाता है, we emphasize, okay, others have to change their thinking. But I think even as women, when you're given the opportunity, raise your hand to say that, hey, my name is so and so and this is what I do. Self advocacy. वो उधर ही आता है. But वो बाहर की environment also has to create that space, ना. There are a lot of women who are so incredibly powerful and, you know, capable. But क्या होता है, like, no matter how much you raise your hand, if the people around you cannot recognize your capability, you're not going to be recognized. As simple as that.
उनका थॉट ही नहीं आएगा माइंड में कि हमने कुछ बनना है, क्योंकि साथ में सारे ही वही चीज कर रहे हैं, तो वो सोचेंगे हाँ हम भी यही करते हैं.
वही नहीं, एंड हम काफी जो काम करते हैं विलेजेस इन इंडिया, यू नोटिस children are so incredibly talented, whether it be art or something, but if you tell their parents we will pay for their education, nahi, ladki hai, she's just going to marry, buy, invest in her son. So it's like, that's what I'm trying to tell you, is like that ideologies are so deep rooted that even if you, like, if a girl even raises their hand as much as they can to say that, hey, I can do this, you know, even if they're confident, if the environment around you tells you, hey, you're not, hey, you're not, hey, you're not, no matter how strong you are, at the end of the day, you're going to give up and you're going to be like, you know what, actually, I'm not capable, you know. Even the fact of appreciation. Many a times what happens is, you know, if a son does well in studies, parents are more likely to be more happy. क्योंकि कहते हैं भाई वो तो नॉर्मली लेके नहीं आता अच्छा, तो एक बार अच्छा होगा तो वेरी गुड, बट फ्रॉम गर्ल्स इट्स एक्सपेक्टेड. So sometimes what happens is, no matter a girl is getting 98% constantly, but because she's been getting that for very long, that appreciation goes down, whereby it's expected of her.
आज के तो आ ही जाएंगे.
हाँ, exactly, मैं वही कहने चाह रहा हूँ. So like I think environment भी वो होनी चाहिए, and एक बार वो environment होगी, slowly फिर women will also get the confidence. And again, like as a disclaimer, this is not all women. I'm talking about in specific, not even cities actually, in specific villages that we worked with, women in, like, you know, India, or even in Africa, like in Ghana recently where we did the program. You notice those things. And resource is a big one as well, right? The environment plays a role, the own individual plays a role, and the resources available. You know, like in some of these places, these villages are cut off in a way from the rest of the world, if you were to say, you know. Electricity is not that well. Schools, you technically don't even have a school. Like in the school in Ghana, they basically put grass on the top. They didn't even have chairs. Everyone's sitting on the floor. Our board bhi proper nahi hota hai. You know, so in those conditions, it's like so many challenges against you, right? And in that, what you need is that support again from the audience. But now when you don't have resource, plus you don't have your audience support, what are you going to do? You know, it's so difficult to be resilient in those times. But you are seeing those differences. You know, a lot of people, when given opportunities, you are noticing. Like in India, I don't know if you know the story of, there was this girl who is part of the slums in India. And she's a model right now for Forest Essentials.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she's a model. I forgot her name actually, sorry. Maybe you can add it later. But she is a model for Forest Essentials now in India. You see, like, she had that perseverance. Obviously, she wasn't in an environment where she would get the opportunity to do so. But there was this one photographer who was passing by in the slums, you know, in India. He just saw her and he told her, hey, like, that is an example of where you get offered an opportunity. And she was lucky to get that opportunity. Why? Because her parents were supportive. They were like, you know what? He's like, okay, I have an idea. Why don't we do a commercial with her? She's incredibly beautiful, or, you know, has perfect features for this. And her parents agreed. If they didn't agree, she wouldn't be there, the face of that campaign. Neither would other women be empowered today in India from those communities, right? So that one parental support made such a huge difference for her future. Because when you're young, you aren't making decisions for yourself. Unless you turn like 14 or something, you know, elder, whatever the biological age is, you know. So I like, you know, that's how big of a role that plays. Yeah.
पेरेंट्स का बहुत बड़ा रोल होता है, आई थिंक सो, क्योंकि अगर वही कहें कि तुमने अपना घर लेना है, यू हैव टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट,
Exactly.
राइट? वो सोचते हैं कि हम लड़का ढूंढेंगे, उसके पास घर हो, अच्छी जॉब हो, वेल एजुकेटेड हो, और हम शादी कर देंगे. अगर वो उसको यही कहे कि तुझे अपना घर लेना है, तुझे अपना करियर खुद बनाना है, यू हैव टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट, तो आई थिंक सो कि उसके भी दिमाग में ट्रिगर करेगा कहीं कि हाँ मेरे को स्ट्रगल करना है, कि ये इनफ नहीं है, इससे नहीं मैं कुछ कर पाऊंगी. तो वो बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करता है, आई थिंक सो. राइट, यू गॉट अ पॉइंट.
And even your social group, friends.
Right.
Friends are, oh my God, when I say big influence actually. Because I think I've had a lot of transitions in friendships, because like when I became so obsessed and focused on, you know, my goals, I was sacrificing my social time with my friends, this and that. And jo such dost hote hain na, who know your purpose, who know why you're doing particular things, they are the ones who stick around. During that time, I lost a lot of friends because people were constantly like, hey, why aren't you coming to party? Hey, why aren't you coming to this? Why aren't you coming to this social gathering? Why aren't you coming to dinner? But at that time, eating dinner outside was expensive. You know, knowing that when I was doing so many things, and at times when you have exams, I couldn't go to both of my part-time jobs because I still had those internships to do, you know. So I would sacrifice those, and I was so concentrated on saving money, you know. So for me, thinking, oh, I have to go for a meal every single day felt like a lot, you know. But it was only few friends who understood that. And I'm actually grateful that I went through that phase and lost some of those friends, because I think the people I have now with me, they are, you know, those strong people. That's why I believe quality is more important than quantity in anything in life, even in friendships.
फ्रेंड इसलिए बनते हैं क्योंकि हम उनके साथ टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं रोज.
Exactly.
जब हम बात करना बंद कर दें थोड़े दिनों के लिए, चाहे वो फोन पे ही हो,
हाँ.
वो गैप जो है वो क्रिएट हो जाता है और वो फ्रेंडशिप छूट जाती है.
Exactly. और वो मेरे को लगता है टेम्पररी फ्रेंडशिप्स हैं. And you know, I chose to spend it differently, and I realized the difference in my life. You know, the way I was thinking things, even your reels, the type of reels you watch has such a huge impact in who you become. It's indirect manifestation, and I'm a huge believer of that. I know I just took the topic haywire, but
कैसी रील आती है आपको?
हाँ?
कैसी रील आती है?
So if you look through my reel content, it's all just motivational videos. It's all just motivational videos.
Gym videos,
yes,
and motivation and millionaire videos.
It used to be health also before, but it's a lot of just motivational and even a lot of emotional, social impact relating videos. You know, people make those videos where they're helping the community in a way, and they record those reels from outside. You know,
Redefined organization का यही पूछना था मैंने next.
हाँ.
नहीं कंटिन्यू.
नहीं हो गया.
अच्छा. रीडिफाइंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कैसा आइडिया है आपको?
गुड क्वेश्चन. कैसा आइडिया? पर
क्योंकि ये कोई नॉर्मलाइज चीज नहीं है कि हर एक बंदा सोच लेता है कि हाँ चल मैं एक नॉन प्रॉफिटेबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खोलता हूँ जिसमें मेरे को कोई बेनिफिट नहीं हो रहा है.
हाँ.
तो ये कैसे आया, क्यों आया?
मैं वही पहले जो बोल रही थी ना, like that redefining component that I felt for myself, you know, like when I was even
नेम का बताया आपने.
नहीं, that was also the reason why the organization came into being, because I constantly realized that, you know, being a woman of color, being an international student, every person I was meeting, that felt to be a certain sense of judgment or certain set of assumptions that people formed of you, of your capabilities, of your abilities, just based on who you are, how you look, where are you from, you know. And I realized, and everyone faces this, no matter where you're from, everyone faces this issue. And I think that is a big deterrent to a lot of people, because we get carried away by that.
They create self-doubt in you.
Exactly, they do. Like some of them are like positive stereotypes, if I were to say, but there's still stereotypes or judgments at the end of the day, right? Irrespective of what they are.
In the back of their mind, they are doing that.
Exactly. So I think that's why at the end of the day, I realized is, because I was able to, when I actually made the transition from kinesiology to consulting, very few people were doing that. Like, I was one of the only people, like in my entire batch, 98% of people were pursuing kinesiology. Only 1 or 2% of people, that one of them was me, who wanted to do something completely different, So I was always an outlier in a way. Not only in terms of the friends around me, I was always an outlier even in my class, because my interests were always different. I enjoyed my course, that's why I never changed it. I stuck with it, but I just knew I wanted to do something different. The only difference was I didn't necessarily want to use the knowledge I got in that course. I wanted to use the skills and experiences I got through those courses and through that degree for my future career. So that was different. That's why I always say I'm like an odd one. I've always been kind of that outlier kind of a person. I always say that. Try to, and that's very difficult to do. We usually get motivated by seeing movies, reels. Like even I watch a lot of, but I think at the end of the day, if you keep your motivation within yourself, like if you personally motivate yourself, that is very sustainable in life. Because many a times you're going to come across people, you're going to gain those people, you're going to lose those people. Things are going to change. But one thing you have full control is yourself. So I think being able to motivate yourself from within, that is a difficult skill to develop. But I promise when you do,
वो
things are
रहती भी है
endless.
लॉन्ग टर्म, है ना. अब 2 hours की कोई मूवी देखी, वो 2 दिन बाद खत्म हो जाएगी मोटिवेशन. वो भूल भी जाओगे कि क्या मोटिवेशन ली थी. ये चक्कर होता है. शुरू भी अकेले किया था.
हाँ, आई एम लाइक द सोल फाउंडर.
नहीं, ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो थी रीडिफाइंड की, अकेले शुरू की थी.
The reason, I think we went on zero funding in a way for at least like 6 months. And the reason that happened was purely out of networking and relationship building. Networking, why? Because when I knew I wanted to start a non-profit, I just spoke to a lot of non-profit entrepreneurs, from why I'm saying non-profit entrepreneurs, non-profits and social entrepreneurs, both from Canada and other regions as well. India also, I spoke to a lot of people, even Africa, people who are based there, who are doing work for the community there, because I knew I wanted to expand there also. I spoke to everyone, got an idea how they are doing things, what they're doing, and came up with my own plan to do things. Open for all the homeless community people to come and take from us. There were these couple of people who were donating to us consistently over, like every month, that really started helping. Then we started doing many initiatives, like for the Ghana program, we started running a lot of programs. So we did it like a Ghana educational program in Ghana itself, where we,
Africa, right?
yes, yeah, we organized work for about 500 students. There was 5 different schools with 100 students each in that small village. So for those 500 schools, we ran educational workshops in sexual and menstrual education for them over a period of 2 weeks. And at the same time, we provided them with menstrual pads as well to all those 500 people.
इंडिया में क्या किया आपने?
Oh yes, India में भी, India and Africa में same work है. So it's mostly relating to, so there are 5-6 areas में where we do workshops. One is menstrual and sexual education, one is entrepreneurship, one is awareness around sexual abuse, financial literacy is a big one as well, and climate and sustainability.
So you are making the education is important for them, right?
That's why we cater. The only way, that's why I say like, maybe I didn't add this, is but the way we empower these people from marginalized or underserved communities is by providing access to education and necessary products. And when I say products, this could be many things. This could be technical products as well. Like some schools don't even have computers at all. Hopefully if we have enough capability in ourselves.
In villages in India, there is no computer.
Exactly.
They don't have even enough books.
Yeah, so we provide those as well. So, books, pens, the Ghana educational program, we also provided them funding for tables and chairs. Because those schools, if I show you the pictures and images, I can send them to you also.
Yeah, I will add in the video.
Yeah, they don't have ceilings, anything. So what happens when it rains? School over, go home, no education for today. So those issues are happening. These children are walking very far. A day when you're tired or something. And what also happens is for a lot of women, the day you get your periods, well, you get embarrassed in school because you don't have the right pads. Because they're very expensive. Like I'll tell you like a quick story. Like in Ghana, like we heard from someone this, that one of the girls, she had actually committed suicide because when she went to school, she got her periods for the first time and she didn't know what it was, right? Like, but it was showing through a uniform. So the friends and everyone in class, including the teacher, made fun of her. And she never returned back home the same day. Because in these areas, like, the local person we were talking to, she said it's seen as a sin there, like menstruation. It's seen as a sin. It means like you're a devil or something, and it's a bad thing. And imagine like a kid who's not even understood it yet, who doesn't even know the biology behind it and how it's something normal, because that education is not given. Now, if you tell a child, "Arey, you're a devil because you get your periods," what do you expect someone to feel and experience, right? If you from a young age, even in some of very small villages in India, still today, women are made to sleep in a separate shelter out of the house. They're made to sleep in the cold in a separate hut that they make. Unhygienic living condition. They're told to pee there, sleep there, everything. Because they're considered impure. They're not allowed to enter temples because you're impure again. Now, that is where education piece is so important. Why I'm saying is, yes, obviously they need resources, but before that comes education. Because if these women were shown that, hey, this is a normal body process, it is happening normally to you, even if we don't educate others, but at least educating them that doesn't make you a devil or this will make you impure. It's a normal thing. In fact, anything is helping you get rid of toxins and making you more stronger and healthier, If they knew that, they will be more likely to be confident about themselves. But when they don't know that and someone tells you, hey, this is why it's happening to you, and this means you're impure and men are not because they are not experiencing periods, anyone's going to think that, right?
Right.
Yeah,
because
and that's why they don't even educate them. Yeah, that's why some of them fear education for their daughters, because they know once they get educated, they're going to get empowered, right? They're going to now go out of their ways.
They will feel confident.
Exactly. But again, have we solved the issue? No. So like, I think it's a combination of many factors. Like we also, that's why a lot of our workshops do it through stories. There's this organization called Kadira that I would give a shout out to. They helped us with a lot of our workshops. And like our workshops are in a storyline. Even through videos, we show them a story that there's this girl who gets a stomachache, who sits on the side, but then her guy friend approaches her, asks her why she's feeling this way. She's like, oh, like I'm on my periods, I cannot play, I cannot go this. Those stereotypes that exist. Oh, when you're on your periods, you cannot play outside, go to the Gurdwara, temple, whatever. But then you have the reason we include the guy image as well, to show and break down more stereotypes. Okay, it's okay for guys to also have that conversation, right? It's not just women who need to be educated, it is the boys also who need to be educated about what menstruation is, so that in fact, if they come across any woman who is experiencing it, they are the first people who know how to help her. I think it's so important for every guy to carry a pad at least in their car. Right. Or a tampon or anything, because like whether it be your sister, your mother, anyone can have it at any time, right? So you should always have it, because that creates an inclusive space for everyone, and that breaks down actual stereotypes. It's not just educating women, but it's also educating men, and that is something also we're trying to do. In India, what happens is humility ke chakkar mein we never even talk about ourselves. But that's not how you work in North America, right? Even if it's landing a job, even when it's networking is all about putting yourself out there, right? But we are so focused on humility, we never talk about ourselves, we never talk about our achievements, because we think, oh, it's not a good thing to do, because our parents taught us not to do that. But that's how things work here, because, well, if you don't talk about yourself, there are others who are willing to talk about themselves and take the credit for things and walk over you. So don't keep your head ज़्यादा झुका के.
हम ये सोचते रह जाएंगे छोटी जॉब है या kind of.
Exactly. वो छोटी जॉब नहीं, and you should feel proud of it.
पर हम ये सोचते हैं क्योंकि हमारा बैकग्राउंड वहाँ पे ये सोचा जाता है.
Exactly. मेरे को याद है at UBC, I think I was working for this like those agencies that put you as like a waiter, जैसे the waitresses, and I did that at a UBC event, at an event on my own campus, where one of my friends was actually getting an award. And I was there, and I think for the first time in my life, I felt a sense of embarrassment somehow, and I was standing there, I was like, but why should I feel embarrassed? I maybe not as fortunate to come from a certain background, but you know what? I should be proud of the fact that I can manage a full-time study. Plus, I'm doing so many jobs. Plus, I'm getting experience. It should not be something embarrassing. If anything, it should be something I should be more proud of. And when I felt like that day, I was like, wait, I'm sure other people might feel the same. Other students who are doing the same kind of job. So, us times I made sure that, if I ever go to an event also, and, if I'm seeing students who are also working, letting them know how incredible that they're doing. Because I feel it's like, we as humans are born to compare sometimes, and it's easy to do that. But I think when I stood there, I just made sure, what? It's fine if you're standing here. But I was like, I know I'm meant to be there, So I said, soon it won't be me here. It's going to be me there on that stage receiving that award. And that did happen, on that same stage. Leaving a job is also a big task. Not a lot of students can do it. Yeah. Yes. And especially these toxic jobs, because that's where, I think even the job that I did, I won't take the name of the place, but I think it was the toxic job as well. On your self-esteem, self-confidence just goes down. And I remember the manager of the the shop or whatever, he used to feel very that against me, because he had once maybe come across my post, or once actually a couple of times people came to the pizza place saying that, Ritika, I've seen your LinkedIn post, I love them. And I don't know, maybe he had ego or what, but it just started annoying him, over time, when start that, and that's luckily to those people, thank you. But they started coming, and that just started getting him, I don't know, more annoyed with me. And once I was late to a shift because I was finishing up a drive of Redefined. And oh my God, the way he went off at me, he's like, Ritika, like, you just not forget you're working under me, and like in front of everyone. It was so embarrassing, like customers also there, everyone's there. And he's like, remember, I'm here and you're there. And I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? I resigned today. And I was like, I don't even mind being under the ground, but I can promise you I'll be there one day, and it was just such a tough experience for me. And that day I was like, what the hell? I got to the call. I was crying so much. And I was on my, on the call with my mom, and I was like, Mama, how can someone talk to me? And she's like, no one deserves to talk to anyone like that. And she's like, neither does anyone deserve to hear such things, and that's when she told me that line, you write your own story, Ritika.
Same thing मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ था last year. I used to drive truck before. वो फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशन अच्छी नहीं थी बैक होम, तो इसलिए करना पड़ता था, और मेरे को बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं था. मेरे को था जिस दिन मैं PR हुआ उसी दिन मैं छोड़ दूंगा, मेरे को बॉडी बनानी है, बॉडी बनानी है और करियर चूज करना है कि ये मैं पूरी लाइफ नहीं कर सकता. वो मेरी मेरा पर्सपेक्टिव था, ठीक है. तो मैंने सबसे पहला क्या था, बॉडी बनानी है और मैंने अपने आप को एजुकेट करना है, क्योंकि बिकॉज ऑफ सम सिचुएशन बैक होम आई डिडंट गेट माई एजुकेशन वेल. सो दैट्स वाई मैंने फिर सोचा कि सबसे पहले ये काम करना है, और मैंने वही करा. मैंने बुक्स रीड करी, और मेरे सराउंडिंग में जो फ्रेंड्स थे वो कहते क्या कर रहा है तू, टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है. मैं टाइम वेस्ट नहीं कर रहा, टाइम इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ अच्छी जगह पे. तो उसी वजह से मेरे भी सारे सराउंडिंग्स जो थे वो सब छूट गए. उसके बाद मैंने और जब मैं अकेला हुआ तो मैंने स्टडी की खुद ही कि मैं ये चीजें कर सकता हूँ. हाँ यार, मेरे को वीडियोस बनानी पसंद है, मैं मूवीज बना सकता हूँ,
क्यों नहीं.
और उसी के बाद वो जब लोग कहते थे उस टाइम पे कि हाँ तू इतने पैसे दोबारा नहीं कमा पाएगा, क्योंकि लोग सोचते हैं कि ट्रैकिंग में सबसे ज्यादा पैसे हैं कनाडा में, और आज मैं उससे कहीं ज्यादा बना लेता हूँ. बनाता था अभी 2 महीने पहले, अभी दोबारा डाउन हुआ. तो हाँ,
नहीं, but see, your story also is such an inspiration, and it's true, is like, do whatever works for you. In your head it was, I'm at least happy, like even though let's say initially PR was your goal, it wasn't your end goal again, right? You said PR ke baad I want to do this and this and this. So whatever works for you, and then you're going in the right direction, right? So
you have to know what you want to do in your life, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You have to choose a purpose.
Exactly, and don't change the goal. Change the way you achieve that goal sometimes.
Right. As we are and in the end of the podcast, कोई गाइडेंस इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट के लिए जैसे आप करते हो, सेमिनार्स, इवेंट्स, ऑल दैट स्टफ, सो यहाँ पे कोई स्पेसिफिकली गाइडेंस देना चाहते हो जो लगती हो आपको कमी है, इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट यहाँ के गलती करते हैं वो?
I think like as a piece of advice, I think one main thing I would say is like it's so important ki never undersell yourself. I think that would be like key to anything, don't focus on short-term things. Don't focus on quantity, focus on quality. You should be the ruler of your own emotions. So no one deserves that position to influence the way you feel your state of mind.
Because your goal is different than others.
Yes, yeah.
That's why they are not understanding you, right?
Yeah, and it's not about understanding. I'm okay with being misunderstood. I read this of Jay Shetty, actually. Incredible podcaster, love him. And in one of the podcasts, someone asked him this question, and he's like, what is one thing that people value you don't? And he said it is that being understood. He's like, I'm okay with being misunderstood. And I think that is incredible.
Right.
And I think when I heard that, I just, follow that. And I think it's so true, is that if you just remove that part, half of the miseries in the world are solved, because most of the things we're doing in the world today is to gain some sort of appreciation, is to gain some sort of validation from people. But if you let go of all of that and just focus on yourself, your passion, the work you want to do, gaining smiles and, happiness than anything else, nothing is stopping you, and you're the most satisfied person ever. Right. Yeah.
बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला सच्ची, to be honest. Thank you so much for coming on our show. And stay positive. I hope your organization will go up there and helping all over India, Africa and Canada.
Hopefully.
Helping me also.
Hopefully. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.